Welcome to building chords from scales. As you see, these three-note chords are notes stacked on top of each other. Chords are based on scales. Specifically, chords are based on particular notes derived from scales. Those notes are the first, third, and fifth notes of the scales. With these three notes, triads are built. Other notes, such as the seventh of the scale, or the second or the sixth, they are also used to make chords, but more complex chords. The smallest collective unit of a chord is called a triad. You may have already guessed that a triad has only three notes. In a C scale, we extract the first, which is a C, the third, which is E, and the fifth, which is G. Those three notes will create a C triad, which is what we have here on the left. The C triad denotes C, E, G. If we go to F, the notes are F, the first note in the scale, A, the third note in the scale, and C, the fifth. First, third, and fifth. The G is G, B, D. The A is A, C sharp, E. These tabs below, I would suggest ignoring them and trying to figure out a way to play them without the tabs. Now, this is what's called closed position. As we have major and minor scales and keys, we also have major and minor triads and chords. A major can be turned into a minor by lowering the third. Notice the C now has an E flat instead of an E. The F has an A flat. The G has a B flat. These are minor triads. Now, why doesn't the A have a C flat? Because, as we remember in our first triad there, the A major triad had a C sharp. So to lower that, we make it a C natural, not a C flat, a C natural. And so that's what that is, and that gives us an A minor triad. When we move the notes further apart, using what's called octave displacement, we can derive open triads. Observe how far apart the same triads are. Same notes, G, E, and C, spread out. Look how far the low A is from the high F and the high C. Then we have the G, it's not as far spread out. And we have the A, which is pretty much a wide expanse there between the low A and the high C sharp. And we have minor triads in open position too. So we have that A flat, F, and C under the F chord. And notice those fingerings, so it would be a little too difficult to play. They are possible if you stretch, but don't bother with that. Just look at these notes and try to name them all. Now, to make chords sound fuller, octaves are thrown in. Fifths can be doubled, and octaves can be doubled. Thirds aren't doubled too often. Sometimes because of the construction of the guitar, though, thirds are doubled as a convenience for fingering. When you look at guitar sheet music, they show you chord fingering diagrams as well as notes on the staff and tablature. I just want to say that the fingering diagrams are not necessarily what are actually written on the staff below them. For your next exercise, you're going to read some notes, and they're going to be chords, full chords, and no tabs. So just so you don't think I'm a sadist, I will supply the chord diagrams to be looked at after you attempt to try them on your own. Alright, so here we go. Name these notes. I'll help you along a little bit here. I see. Oh, the hint here is to name the second note from the bottom. You've seen that note before. You've seen all these notes. What is that note? That's a C. So, I'm obviously hinting that this is a C chord, which it is. C major chord. There it is. Those are the notes that you just saw. Flip back. There you go. The low G on the bottom. And there's low G on the left. Okay, we have a low note. Now, by now you know what that low note is. That's an E. Okay, the rest of the notes that follow are B, E, G sharp, B, and E. So E, B, E, G sharp, B, and E. What kind of chord does that make it? An E major chord. Very good. Moving on. What are the names of these notes? Well, two ledger lines, and the note sits below it. That lowest note there, a G. The one above it, a B, a D, and then a G, a B, and a high G. What kind of chord does that make it? Sounds like a G to me. Your G major chord. All right, exercise 49. Figure out the chord. The bottom note will tell you. You know the bottom note? What is it? I believe that's an A. Then an E, an A, a C sharp, and an E, which makes an A major chord. And those are the notes that you'd play. Exercise 50. Play the chord. What is it? What's that bottom note? You know it by now. You know that's a D. And there's an A, another D, and an F sharp. What chord does that make it? A D major chord. All right. So there are a few exercises for you. There'll be more now. This is the last video in the course of scales. And it's going to be time now to move over to the exercises. These are just to warm you up. And so, just to review, we saw how we can learn to read notes with both intervals and scales. We also learned how to read a few chords. And there have been some exercises as warm-ups. Now go to the Exercises tab and see how you do. And this concludes the video on reading notes for guitar through scales. Hope you enjoyed it. I know that you did. Thanks a lot for watching. This is Gene Petty. Take care.